I'm Daljit Dhaliwal. World Focus brings you comprehensive coverage of global news, drawing on sources from around the world and seeking out unique takes on how the world sees us. World Focus is America's newscast, diverse voices for a diverse world.
Coming up next on 13.
Tonight on World Focus.
On this special edition of World Focus, global health and the battle against some deadly and persistent diseases. In South Africa, the struggle against AIDS. The disease continues to rage in that country, while in Thailand, where AIDS is declining, we'll look at one man's fight against complacency. We'll take you to Haiti and the Dominican Republic. Neighboring countries join together in a battle against malaria. And back in South Africa, another disease that's on the rise, drug-resistant tuberculosis, and what's being done to stop it.
From the different perspectives of reporters and analysts from around the globe, this is World Focus.
Good evening, I'm Martin Savidge. Thank you for joining us. We're going to devote this special edition of World Focus to global health and the battle against three deadly diseases that continue to defy attempts to eliminate them. Those diseases are AIDS, malaria, and tuberculosis. And while we don't hear about them as much as we once did in this country, they remain threats to the lives of millions of people around the world. And finally tonight, we return to South Africa with a look at another urgent health threat that doesn't really get enough attention, tuberculosis, which kills some 2 million people a year worldwide. It's on the increase, and South Africa has the highest incidence in the world. There's a growing threat from multi-drug-resistant TB, an aggressive strain that is much more difficult to treat. Correspondent Deborah Doherty reports on efforts to combat it.
Caregiver Mercy Ngongo runs a small soup kitchen from a tiny shack. She buys the soup ingredients with her own money and makes sure that tuberculosis patients have something to eat before taking their medicine.
They know if I'm doing something, this thing is going to help to them. They believe on me.
Tuberculosis has a firm grip on the township of Khayelitsha on the outskirts of Cape Town. Patients at the community clinic say despite being sick, they are hopeful. The clinic has seen an increase in the number of people with multi-drug-resistant tuberculosis, or MDR-TB. This young man has been diagnosed with MDR-TB. It's a virulent strain that can occur when a person with tuberculosis fails to complete the 6 to 9 month course of medication, causing the body to develop a resistance to the drugs, or catches TB from another person who is ill with the drug-resistant strain. The problem is that it often takes more than 2 months to diagnose MDR-TB.
It would be really great if we could have a vaccine, or if we can't have the vaccine, then if we could diagnose the TB as soon as possible, preferably within the same day. So if you come to the clinic in the morning, you can leave the clinic with a diagnosis.
On the other side of town, scientists are pushing ahead with a genetic test to help doctors like Suwendi. The test cuts the time it takes to diagnose MDR-TB from 70 days to 2 days. Their work dovetails with research at the South African Tuberculosis Vaccine Initiative, the largest TB testing site in the world. Here, researchers believe they're edging closer to developing vaccines that could prevent tuberculosis.
Prospects are good. There are a lot of players that have come in. There's a lot of support from organizations like the WHO, and I think that creates, a good environment where people can work and actually make progress in getting a new vaccine.
While researchers continue to work on vaccines, the key is to raise awareness about treating tuberculosis. The World Health Organization aims to reduce by half the number of people who die from tuberculosis by the year 2015. And communities like Khayelitsha are key. Here, care at home and in a clinic helps people follow through on their treatment.
No one today need die of TB. No child should see the life of a mother or father destroyed by a disease that is completely curable. We need to challenge governments, decision makers, and community leaders to stand together to fight TB, and more importantly, to one day wipe out this devastating disease.
As a Stop TB ambassador, R&B artist Craig David is also spreading the message that tuberculosis is a global disease that can be successfully treated.
For me, it's to make people recognize that this stuff is also happening, like I said, back in New York, back in London, you know? I think people tend to feel from outside of South Africa that maybe it's a million miles away. You know, let them guys deal with it, you know? I want to make the awareness that it is happening on your doorstep, and it's something that you guys have a much responsibility as the people in South Africa, as the people back in London, to make a difference. But you guys are, the fact that you understand it and you're aware makes me feel like this is all worthwhile, you know?
Making that difference would help people like Gladys Yaksa, who has MDR-TB. She's dependent on caregivers like Mercy, who bring her medication. It's vital that she complete the course of up to 2 years of pills and injections. If Gladys lapses, she could infect 10 to 15 people a year, 1 or 2 of whom may develop full-blown TB or MDR-TB. But while the medication can be unpleasant, Gladys is already noticing the difference it makes. While researchers play a critical role, on the ground, Mercy and her helpers are doing what they know best, pulling together for their people. They support each other and remain hopeful as they tackle the disease head-on. For World Focus, I'm Deborah Doherty in Western Cape, South Africa.
And that is World Focus for this Monday evening. A reminder that you can find much more news and perspective at our website. That's worldfocus.org. I'm Martin Savidge in New York. As always, thank you very much for joining us. We'll look for you back here again tomorrow and anytime on the web. Good night.